too.
I did it. Hello, things are looking a little bit different. We have moved house, and in our new house we have a lovely garden, and I'm taking advantage of that, and I'm going to be planting some vegetables. I have planted some vegetables in like one of the trays, starter trays, but this video is going to be me making raised beds by myself. I've done zero research, zero preparation, and I'm probably gonna not finish it all in one day. We're gonna see how far I get and see if it works. I don't know. So come along with me to do that. Okay, so I had managed to pick up these random pieces of wood for free online, and I thought, what a bargain. So it can't be that hard to take it apart. Spoiler alert, it was pretty difficult. Every piece of wood had these little triangle things in that were a pain to get out, and also half a ton of nails. I tried using this shovel to get it out, and it did not do anything. So I ended up using a mixture of different tools that kind of ended up working. That is after a lot of brute force and jamming things, but it got the job done. I didn't manage to strip all the pieces of wood in one day because I ended up getting really frustrated with this and decided just to take one for the team and just have a break, otherwise I was going to end up hurting myself. As you can see, these triangles were not easy to take off. By the end of this process, I ended up having a pretty good system down. Now, as you can see, they're not the prettiest pieces of wood, but by the end of this process, I'd say I did a pretty good job with a lot of love and paint. The following 2 days we had pretty bad weather, so that weekend I managed to wrangle my brother in to try and help. He was in charge of nail duty, and I was in charge of trying to take these extra little pieces of wood off, which took a while. Once the extra pieces of wood were taken off, I decided to try and help take these triangle bits off, whilst my brother continued taking off any nails that were hanging out of the wood. I then ended up marking up the wood to where I had to cut. This is not exactly precise, but I did a good job for eyeballing it. I'm not a carpenter, so I would suggest measuring this, but I was pretty impatient and decided just to go rogue. And I'm that good of a big sister that I volunteered to use the crappy rusty saw, whilst my brother got to use the brand new shiny saw. We also didn't have a proper cutting table, so ignore how flimsy and probably unsafe this is. My brother doesn't think when it comes to these things, so he fired that piece of wood straight in my direction. Cheers, Alf. I had to try and convince him to not turn it into some sort of weapon and to continue sawing for my raised bed. He doesn't necessarily think things through before he does things. Like an idiot, I decided to try and hit it to see if it would snap off. This then led to my brother trying to karate chop it. Again, we are not carpenters, do not do as we say or do. Alfie still had a couple pieces of wood that had nails in, so he was taking them out whilst I was watering the seeds that I had planted earlier in the week. Whilst I was using the saw, I then remembered those people who play the saw as an instrument, and I tried showing my brother, but he had no idea what I was talking about, so here's a clip of that. While he was trying to take the nails out, he then managed to break a hammer. I don't know how he did it, he just bent it and it just snapped off. I had nothing to do with it, I swear, but yeah, he managed to do that. Some of the pieces of wood still had these weird triangles on, so I went back to trying to chip them off. So this is our lovely garden. As you can see, the grass is a bit tall, so we ended up trying to cut the grass. We didn't find the lawnmower till a bit later, so we ended up using a hedge trimmer first, and it didn't really go great. I did it! He's so sweet to me, he loves me really.
I'll start over.
My brother took over the grass cutting so I could try and film, and I was kind of bored and I didn't have nothing to do. He tried making the wire to the hedge trimmer a bit longer. I think it's called a hedge trimmer, I have no idea. He was fiddling with that one piece of string for a good 5-10 minutes, and it didn't end up working, so it was pretty pointless. Look at that shot though. We were also constantly being surprised by apples and dust, so cheers for that. Now, this is where things started to go a bit wrong. These screws would not go in the wood, and I tried again and again and again, and it would not work. I ended up getting Alfie to try and help. He couldn't get it to work either,
next day.
so after video calling and consulting with my dad, he ended up letting me use the next day his drill and some screws, which worked like a charm. I think my brother's drill and screws just weren't strong enough or powerful enough to make it go through the wood, so my dad's screws and drill that were twice as powerful as my brother's actually worked, and actually worked pretty well too. My dad had also said to put this little extra piece of wood to drill both of the long pieces of wood into to stop the main pieces of wood from splitting. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the best I can describe it. My brother was also at school, so I had to do the rest of this by myself, which I was actually quite happy with because I could go in my own little world and zone out and do it however I pleased to. I also ended up moving the frame to a different part of the area, somewhere that got half sun and also half shade. I didn't want it to be in the direct sun all day, so this place was perfect for it. This is where my lack of research really kicked in. I started raking the grass a little bit, thinking that would solve all the issues. But after a FaceTime with my dad, I realised that the grass would still grow up under the soil and interfere with my vegetables. I ended up doing some research and I put some cardboard down on top of the grass to hopefully try and stop the grass, from interfering with the vegetables. The cardboard acts as a good layer, but it also, unlike plastic, it won't disturb the quality of my crops. I thought this was a good substitute over putting down like plastic bags and plastic tarp. Basically what that means is I won't have any microplastics in with my vegetables. This is the moment where I realised just breaking the ground would not stop the grass from growing. I decided to have a break and I wandered into town to go and find some wood paint and also get me some lunch. I am aware that this is not waterproof or outside paint, but I am going to try and get some sort of sealant to hopefully try and make it waterproof. Our landlords also left some pretty bad paintbrushes, so I decided to sacrifice them for the cause. I didn't have any sandpaper, so I used the end of this old brush that was really hard, and it actually managed to get the base layer of the wood off and get a lot of that green algae, whatever that stuff is, off. Once it was dry, I decided to do a second coat just because it was a bit patchy in a couple areas and I wanted it to be pretty consistent. Five bags of compost later, I then started to plant the seedlings I already had. In the end, I'd managed to plant tomato, radishes, lettuces, peas and onions. I ended up adding my strawberry plant in the back left corner, which had only just started to sprout. And after a quick water, we were finally done. Thank you for watching. I'm probably going to document and do videos on how they're growing. If not, I'll definitely be posting them on my social medias, so go check that out. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.